Om Shri Sai Ram Sandeha Nivarini by Bhagwan Shri Satya Sai Baba. Chapter 10. Swami. Well, you look so full of joy today. Bhakta, you have yourself said that man is the embodiment of joy, isn't it? Swami, then you must always be in this mood, isn't it? But do you remain so? Bhakta, I am trying as far as possible. Swami, why do you say trying? Does not worry and sorrow flee the instant Yathartha or reality is known? Bhakta, but what is the Yathartha reality, Swami? All, Swami, all that is asatya or untruth, unreal. The struggles you undergo, the acts you perform are all asatya. When you know this, Yathartha will be evident. Remove all the unreal ideas, opinions, acts, and the Satya or truth that is hidden underneath can be seen. Piling up all these on top, if you ask, where is Satya? How can it be seen? Bhakta, how is it possible to take all that is done, seen, spoken, listened to, felt as asatya? Swami, first understand who is experiencing all these. You refer to the body as I, isn't it? That is asatya. When the experiencing I is itself asatya, unreal, how can the experiences be real? All have the same Atma. The person who experienced is not you. The person who listened is not you. You're always the witness only. Bhakta, you said, Swami, that in everything and everywhere there is Atma. Is there Atma in a dead body too? Swami, oh, a good question indeed. Is this your doubt or the doubt of a dead person? Bhakta, my doubt only, Swami. Swami, well, it is only when you have awakened from deep sleep or sushupti that you are aware that there is an I, isn't it? In the same manner, there is Atma in the corpse also. Bhakta, then how can it be called dead? How can death happen when there is Atma? Swami, if you inquire properly, there is no dying and no living. A moving body is called living and a still one dead. In the dream state, any number of living bodies and corpses are seen. On waking, they do not exist. Similarly, this world, both moving and still, is non-existent. Death means the fading out of aham vritti, the I sense. Rebirth happens when the I sense comes again. That is what is called birth and death, my boy. This birth and death are only for ahamkara, I-ness, not for you. Bhakta, so I exist always, is it? Swami, of course you do. When the I sense or aham vritti, the state of I mode of being is there, you exist. When it is not there also you exist. You are only the base for the vritti. You are not the vritti. Bhakta, but they say attained mukti or liberation. What is that? Understanding the root cause of death and birth, one must completely destroy the aham vritti, the I sense. That condition is what is called the mukti. Bhakta, so as I always exist, I and you are one, isn't it? Swami, who said no? If you are firmly established in that feeling of oneness, then there is nothing that is separate. Bhakta, until then, in order to identify the real I in the unreal I, some say that the support of a guru or a preceptor is wanted. How far is that true, Swami? Swami, it is only when you have so many eyes that you need someone's support, is it not? When all is one, why seek another? Still, until that aham or that I fades out, this speaking I and this listening you have to be there. When that aham is gone, whom to speak to, who listens, all are one. The pratibimba or the reflection of the Atma or pure consciousness, that is Chidabhasa, is Ishvara, Supreme Being, and the pratibimba of Ishvara as Antakarana, reflected consciousness, is Jiva, individual being, isn't it? Bhakta, but what exactly is this Chidabhasa, Swami? Swami, Chidabhasa means the reflection of the Chit, pure consciousness, as the Aham Vritti, that is the sense of I. That one became three, the three became five, the five became many. The I awareness or Sattva became the three on account of contact with Rajas and Tamas. In those three, the five bhutas or elements arose, and through those five, the manifold happened. It is this that causes the illusion that the I is the body. Speaking in terms of Akasha, there are three: Chidakasham, Chittakasam, and Bhutakasam. Bhakta. Then what is Chidakasham? Swami, that is the Atma. Bhakta, what is Chittakasham? Swami, its reflection, that is to say Chitta. When that changes into Manas, Buddhi and Ahamkaram, it is called Antakarana, a word which means the senses, the Indriyas that work internal. Chidabhasam, having the Antakarana, is the Jiva. Bhakta, what is Bhuta Akasham? Swami, when the Chidakasham reflected as Chidakasham sees the elemental Akasham, the Bhuta Akasham, it is called as Mano Akasham. When it sees the Vastu, that is the reality itself, that which exists, it is termed as Chinmayam or pure consciousness. That is why, my dear child, it is said, Manayeva Manushyanam Karanam Bandha Mokshayaha. The Manas alone is for man the cause for both bondage and liberation. The mind manufactures any amount of Bhranti or delusion. Bhakta, how can that Bhranti disappear, Swami? Swami, when you grasp its secret through inquiry, the many merge in five, the five in three, the three in one, and the I exists as I. Suppose you get a headache, you take medicine, and the former disappears. You are back to normal as you were. The delusion that I am the body is similar to this headache. It will disappear if you take the medicine of vichara or inquiry. Bhakta, but can everyone adopt this path of inquiry? Swami, no, my boy, it is only for those whose chitta has become ripe and not possible for everyone. Bhakta, then what should we do to reach that ripe stage? Swami, now we have come to the place from which we started. Have you got things like Japam, Dhyanam, Aradhya, Aradhana, Pranayam, and such other yogas for this? Steadily through these your chitta becomes ripe and becomes capable of understanding the reality of your true self by inquiry. For such men whose chitta has attained the ripe stage, the Atma is not something different from themselves or yourself. All is Atma. Bhakta, but Swami, you mentioned only Japam, Dhyanam, Bhajan, etc. Some people adopt Maunam, the vow of silence, to reach that ripe stage of Chitta. What is the use of practicing Maunam? What exactly is Maunam? Swami, the illumination of the soul is Maunam. How can there be Maunam without the Atma being illuminated? Without that, merely keeping the mouth shut is not silence. Some adopt the vow of silence, but communicate writing on paper or slate, or they point successively to the letters of the alphabet on a chart. All this is Vyahara, Maunam or pseudo-Maunam, It is only another way of talking without interruption. However, Monam is an interminable language. There is no need to attain it. It is ever with you. What you have to do is only to remove all things that disturb it. Otherwise, no one can attain it. Bhakta. But many people practice Vangamonam by merely not opening their mouths to speak. Is it of no use then? Swami, who said so? If you adopt Vangamonam to keep out the external obstacles to sadhana, you certainly can develop your thoughts. You can desist from talking more. You can desist from causing any disturbance or sufferings to others. You can escape criticism and worry from others. You will get ekagrata, concentration to contemplate on your thoughts. Your brain will be saved from unnecessary talk, and it can improve much. With such a brain, you get strength to attain steadiness and to carry on samarana, constant remembrance of the Lord's name. Better, all these advantages you will realize when you do sadhana. Bhakta. Then for the Sampurna accomplished Jnani, all this is not necessary. Swami, there is no Sampurna Jnani in the world. He is in no need of the world itself. Then why does he need all this? Bhakta. If that is so, who are these people called the Jnanis? Swami, they are like the Monam ones I spoke about just now. Jnani is a term applied by courtesy. For a Sampurna Jnani, world does not exist. For a Jnani, all is one. Your Jnanis are all either experts in logic or experts in the knowledge of the world. They are not Jnanis in real sense. Bhakta, then who are the real Jnanis? Swami, when the physical body dies, a real Jnani merges into Atma just as milk added to milk, oil added to oil, or water added to water. But some may have some samskaras, traits still persisting. Those samskaras continue to remain in the form of sankalpas. Until these samskaras are exhausted, they will wander in the world with a body they like. This is also as per the Lord's will. Such men are called as Devamasa Sambhutas, bits of divinity born as men. Bhakta, why should this difference arise? Swami, it arises out of each one's sadhana and sankalpa. Eat a mango and you belch its smell. How can you prevent it? The belch brings the smell of the thing eaten. Bhakta, will such men too have upadhi or manifesting medium? Swami, without upadhi, how can work get on? They too have it, but only a subtle form until they attain Videha Mukti, attaining liberation after body falls. Bhakta, what is that, Swami? Swami, their acts are like the line drawn on water, seen while the line is being drawn, absent as soon as it is finished. Similarly, while it is being done, you notice it. In an instant, it is not noticeable anymore. Bhakta, Swami, you said that a Jnani has Vairagya, renunciation, as his hallmark. How does this agree with that? Swami, that is true. Renunciation is his hallmark. If out of the traits of previous birth he gets attached, he must know that it is only for the body and not for him. This attachment, raga, damages the bliss of Jivan Mukti, attaining liberation while being alive. But Jnanam or self-knowledge is most important for Videha Mukti. Bhakta, even if one has no Jnanam, can one attain Mukti by mere Vairagya or renunciation? Swami, what a foolish question. How can the fruit be sweet without ripening? Vairagyam cannot arise except from Jnanam. There is no moksha without Vairagya. Be sure of that. Bhakta, then where does bhakti come in? Swami, we have come to the very beginning again. Earlier than Jnanam, it is in the form of bhakti. Earlier than bhakti, It is in the form of anurakti or affection. All these are one. Anurakti is the flower, bhakti is the fruit. It is ripe as jnana, vairagya is the sweet, juicy final stage. Without one, you cannot have the next. The flower of anurakti is the most important of all. Once it is formed into the fruit of bhakti, the ripe stages of jnana and vairagya take form by themselves. In order to tend the fruit of bhakti until the juice and tastes are developed, you must practice daily prayer, etc. sadhanas mentioned above, but from the first have in view the oneness of all. Understand that there is no other and conduct accordingly. Bhakta, at least, to keep up appearances in the world, one has sometimes to say, "This is mine." What is one to do then? Swami, of course, you may have to say so, but simply because you say so, what need is there for you to think everything is mine and feel separateness? When you travel in a carriage, do you take the carriage's eye? Look at the sun. He gets reflected in a small pot filled with water, in a broad river, in a mirror, or on a polished pot. For this reason, does the sun feel that all these things are he? Does he get sad when the pot breaks or the river gets dry? This is exactly like that. If you take I to be the body, then it is all bother. If you don't take it so, you will shine like the sun, independent of anything else. Besides, you will be eminent everywhere. Bhakta, that is as much as to say, each must first discover for himself who he is. Swami, exactly. Inquire into that first. Of course, for those who are not competent, this will be too hard to understand. So, those experienced in this line say that such men should not be told these things. If you tell, you are yourself Brahman, you have attained moksha, you are in that stage. To those not competent, they will do no sadhana, they will not act. They will act without any rule or order, and they will pay no regard to right and wrong. This must be realized by the path of seva or selfless service, and revealed only by an experienced guru or a sage or by the command of the Lord. Those who have ichcha or desire and shraddha or unwavering faith to know it, of course, can happily ask about it. But it must be practiced. There is no use simply hearing it and repeating all is one without practicing. They cannot know or understand it. Bhakta, Swami Shankara has already said in the shloka or verse, Vishwandarapana Drishyamana Nagari Tulyam Nijantaram Gatam. The world is like a city seen through a mirror, but it is located within oneself. That is, that the Jagat is mithya or unreal, that it is all maya or illusion. Is this for common people only, or for jnanis also? Swami, the jnani's eye sees everything as Brahman. The ajnani or the person without jnanam cannot understand whatever is said. So, all shastras are intended to benefit the middlings and not applicable to jnanis. Bhakta, this means that all sadhanas are included in the Vicharana Marga or the path of inquiry. Swami, yes, the teaching of the Vedanta is about self-inquiry. Who am I? And to make this inquiry, only those equipped with sadhana, chatushtaya or the four means of practice, that is viveka or discrimination, vairagya or detachment, satsampati, 6 virtues, dhamma, keeping the body and the senses under control, sama, mind control, titiksha or staying neutral in gain or loss, pleasure or pain, praise or censure, Uparati, no likes and dislikes, Shraddha, unwavering faith, Samadhana or single-pointed concentration, and Mumukshutva, burning desire for liberation, are competent. The purpose of these four is to discriminate between Atma and all else, and to realize that the Atma is eternal and the world is unreal. Bhakta, how is that to be realized, Swami? Swami, by inquiring into the nature of the Atma, first sadhakas do all varieties of sadhana and finally enter upon this. While a child, they teach you A, B, C, D, isn't it? Even MA and BA curricula consist of this A, B, C, D and their permutations and combinations. But to realize this fact, one has to complete one's studies. All Vedas and Shastras are based on Aksharas, and you will realize this only after reading them, putting into practice and experiencing. All Margas are included in the Vicharana Marga, Bhakta. But there are some who attain Samadhi or complete absorption. Will they have all this Vicharana or inquiry, etc. in Samadhi? Swami, how can there be Vicharana in Samadhi? When you sleep soundly, do you have any thoughts about the world around you? This is also like that. Bhakta, in the state of Samadhi, does Manas exist or is it doesn't? Swami, whatever Manas will continue in sleep, that Manas will be there in Samadhi also. Bhakta, the talk of a Turiya stage, a fourth state, or the transcendental stage in Samadhi. What is that, Swami? Swami, Turiya is a state of Samadhi in which, even with eyes open, the three states of Jagrat, Swapan and Sushupti, the waking, the dreaming and deep sleep are absent in them. Bhakta, why is that those three stages are absent in them? What are the characteristics of that stage? Swami, those three states are the characteristics of Ahamkara. I-ness. Ahamkara is Manas, which does all acts. Ahamkara is not present in them who are in the Turiya stage. It would have disappeared from them long ago. For them, it is all the same, with eyes open or with eyes closed. It is all one. Bhakta, Swami, without that Aham, how can they talk? Swami, what was Aham in the beginning? When the reality is grasped, is transformed as Swarupa, the true entity. This is referred to as the destruction of the mind. Mano Nashanam. Bhakta, so this Nirvikalpa Samadhi etc. are all Nashanam? Swami, well my boy, Samadhis are all merging, Laya, not Nashanam or destruction. As long as there exists controlling and rising, it is considered as the sadhaka stage. Bhakta, this subject is very interesting, Swami. Swami, don't sit quiet, merely appreciating. Practice it in daily life, all right? Can you take leave? Bhakta, very good, Swami. Please bless me. In that practice, I shall be back soon. Jai Sai Ram.
साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वप्रचोदयात्। ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वप्रचोदयात्। ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वप्रचोदयात्। ॐ